We're an island nation, drawn to the sea that surrounds us. A playground for some. For others, it's where they make their living. But the sea's unpredictable.
Things with the seas, you've got to respect it. The sea will do what the sea wants to do.
There to save our lives is a volunteer army of over 5,000 ordinary people, ready to leave their jobs, their families, and race to our rescue.
When the pager goes off, your heart races, you just want to do the right thing.
Straight out, straight out. Oh my God.
Seconds can make the difference between life and death.
Right. You come to me first. Go, man. Go, go, go.
There's no better sight than that ship coming through the water. There's no better sight.
Equipped with their own cameras.
Am I recording?
Yeah, it's flashing.
The crews give us a unique insight into every call-out, as only they see it.
It's all right, I got you, I got you.
I got you, darling.
For those who risk their lives, it has become a way of life.
Bringing people back to their loved ones is what it's all about. You know, that's what we do the job.
They saved my life. They absolutely saved my life.
Hold on!
In the south of England, lying on the Jurassic coast of Dorset, is the small seaside community of Lime Regis.
Lime Regis is a beautiful coastal town, very popular with tourists, great shops, great coastline, great fossils. Yeah, it's a lovely place. Sailing is a very popular pastime in Lime Regis. I guess just the conditions are good. There are people out capitalising all of the time.
But when a southwesterly wind picks up, the conditions here can soon become dangerous.
It's got a huge fetch, so there's nothing really stopping it to be able to bring in some pretty strong winds, and waves come with it as well.
We've taken the lifeboat out in conditions that I'd say are pretty much at the limit of the boat. Gale force winds, 15-foot waves. No, not even the windsurfers are out in those conditions.
There's been a lifeboat station in Lime Regis since 1825, with a long tradition of crew members joining from the same local families. The youngest member of the current crew is Sam, who joined at 17, the earliest age permitted for volunteer crew.
Yes, that's quite hard.
I've been on Lime Regis Lifeboat now coming up to roughly 2 years. I'm the only one of my friends on the crew. I think they like it at times, but I think at times it can be quite a hindrance, wanting to go out and then maybe having to say, no, we've got training, sorry, next time. You're in overtime, 3 minutes. My nickname's Spaniel, because I was a bit jumpy. On my first few days there, pager goes off, been 17, it's not something you really expect, you get quite jumpy and excited. When you get your nickname, you definitely feel like you're more part of the team.
Now 18, Sam lives with younger brother JJ, his stepmum and his dad, Mark, who also volunteers at the Lime Regis lifeboat station.
If the pagers go, they just get up, whatever they're doing, run, get out the door, get in the car and go down. But it scares me. It makes me jump.
9 years to go before JJ can join, but I'm sure he'll be there. He's learning all the knots now, and he'll be a valuable member of the crew, I'm sure, when we have to retire.
A sunny Sunday in August. Peak season for the town and the lifeboat crew.
I was the designated helm for the day, and we were really short. The 3 crew that I had were the only 3 that were in town.
A member of the public has called 999 after spotting a dinghy capsize off the harbour wall.
I was just sitting in bed watching TV. Next thing I know, the pager's sounding. Run down the stairs, get my shoes on, throw my coat on and out the door. I was just expecting to launch the boat, and then usually we go upstairs to the ops room so we can listen to what's going on. And got shouted from the crew room, can you come get changed? And it was a shock to the system, being able to get on the boat and help.
Sam has never been out on a shout of this scale before. Within minutes, he's on the station's Atlantic-class lifeboat being briefed about the capsized dinghy and its 2 sailors somewhere in the water off the harbour wall, known locally as the Cob.
When I first got told what it was, oh crap, it could be bad. 2 people potentially could be in the water, could get washed up on the rocks. When there's a person in the water, time's critical. Seconds count, minutes count, everything counts. You want to be there on that water, helping that person out as quick as you can.
As we went round the high wall, you felt the wind hit you, you could see the sea state. You knew it was going to be a challenging one.
Storm Gabriel has just passed through the English Channel, whipping up 2 to 3 metre high waves.
Because of the way that the sea was running, we were straight into the sea rather than trying to go across it. So you're going smashing through these waves and trying to find out where these people were.
We went to a position 500 metres off the high wall, and there was nothing there. None of us could see them at all.
The conditions were terrible. The spray in your face, plus the waves, it was challenging. You're just looking for anything, something solid, something colourful.
It was nerve-wracking knowing that someone's out in this, you're trying to locate them, and just not knowing where they are, if they're all right.
And you kind of questioning, are they really here? Where are they? Have we got the completely wrong information?
It's now been 20 minutes since the alarm was sounded. There's no sign of either the dinghy or the 2 sailors. Concern mounting, the crew return to their start position and begin a fresh search.
We started going back towards the cob, thinking maybe it was much closer than we originally thought. Maybe the dinghy had actually been smashed up.
This is Lime Lifeboat. Do you have eyes on the casualty? Are you able to give us a visual? We cannot see.
How are those individuals? What state are they in? How long ago did the dinghy get into difficulty and has actually sunk? We're looking for a boat, but the boat's no longer there. So actually we're looking for the heads of 1 or 2 individuals, which is going to be incredibly hard for us to find.
Yeah, we are in position, no visual, over.
Yeah, I'd say doubt crept in that day.
Blue hole, over. Oh, blue hole. Where? Blue hole, back sail. The sail will be on there, so we should have eyes on the blue hole, but...
Was nervous for them as much as it must have been for us. Just not finding them, hoping the best for them, really.
We were heading back into the sea, trying to work out where they were, and then all of a sudden, I think it was about off our 11 o'clock, caught the blue on the side of the hull.
Straight out, straight out, straight out. No, up there. Oh my God. 11 o'clock, it. Get it close.
All we could see was the blue hull facing us. It wasn't until we got a little closer that we could see that they were actually on the underside of the vessel trying to make some repairs.
Coast Guard.
We are on the scene with the casualty. We'll update to you in a minute, over.
Coast Guard, Roger. You're okay, you're gonna flip it back.
Even with his helmet removed, the strong winds make it difficult to hear the casualties. The crew manages to make out that a section of the dinghy's rigging has broken, and the sailors are trying to fix it themselves.
Well, wait! Quick chat with the casualty. They are trying to right the vessel in an attempt to erect the sail. We're going to stay on the scene and assist if necessary. Over.
The lifeboat crew are now in a difficult position. A member of the public called the Coast Guard, not the 2 sailors. They can't force them to accept a rescue, even though the wind and waves are pushing their capsized dinghy ever closer to the harbour wall.
My priority is obviously the sailors. The problem was with their boat on its side and the wind gusting as it was and with the tide, they were drifting very, very quickly. So the frustration from my point of view was growing and I was becoming worried for their safety.
After 10 minutes, the sailors managed to get their dinghy upright, but continue to drift towards shore.
Because they were drifting so quickly, my decision was to get one of them to come over and just have a discussion with them on our boat to get an up-close idea of what was actually going on in their minds and what the next steps would be.
Can you come to us? One of you. Swim over.
Asking a casualty to swim to the lifeboat in large seas is not standard practice. But with the wind still making it hard to communicate, it's the only way the crew can speak clearly to the sailors and come up with a plan.
Count on 3. 1, 2, 3. Work together.
Okay, come on.
All right.
All right. It's really easy. So basically our forestay snapped. Yeah. We can't get the sail up.
The forestay is a metal cable that keeps the mast upright. Without it, the dinghy cannot sail and will continue to drift until it hits the rocks.
My consideration is their safety and the safety of my crew. Nothing more, really. I want to get them into the harbour as safely as possible and get my boat and my crew in the harbour as safely as possible. So the biggest thing in my mind is them and us. The boat is secondary.
But for the sailor, rescuing the boat is a priority, and the only way to save it now is to tow it back to shore.
You just take a seat, mate. The trouble that we've got is because of the way that the waves are coming in, we can't be heading beam in with you on the tow. It's just too dangerous for us and you to do that. So we either got to try and get you both on here and take you in, but you're not going to leave your boat.
There was a lot of swell, which was my concern, towing something that was that small in the sea and that light, had no weight to it.
It's, honestly, I've done it a million times.
Yeah.
Tow all around the ocean with boats behind ribs, it's going to be totally fine.
Yeah.
If we just get a line round it and just start towing, I promise you it'll be fine. And we'll go.
He seemed very confident. He said that they'd been in this situation many times, which unnerved me a little because I thought if they'd been in this situation many times, how experienced were they?
Our main thing to do was to leave the boat and get them on board, because at the end of the day, life's more precious than a boat.
It's our helm's responsibility. He wants to set up a tow.
You've got a situation where you've got to think very, very quickly, try and make the right decisions. I was trying to take on board what they wanted as well, and whether that was right for us, and whether that was right for everybody.
With time running out, John agrees to tow the dinghy back in with one condition.
Okay. So what he's saying is we'll set up a tow.
Yeah.
If he thinks at any point it's dangerous for you or us, we're going to cut the line.
Yeah, it'll be fine, yeah, but the sooner we do it, the better, because we're running out of time, eh?
I got told by the helm to get the knife ready. It was quite shocking, really. It's like something bad can go wrong here, and if it does, I need to be on the ball and cut that line as quick as possible.
Go now. He's up.
The dinghy sailor accepts the tow on these terms and swims back to his boat with the tow rope.
Yeah, just stay there, taking on. Pay line out.
Yeah, we're good. Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Yeah.
Okay. Selling Coast Guard, this is Lime Regis Lifeboat. We have the casualty vessel under tow and are taking them back to Lime Regis Harbour. Over.
Knowing the lightweight dinghy could easily be flipped by strong winds and large waves, the crew cautiously start to tow it in.
I'd been concerned about the sea in all of our conversations, and the minute we took them under tow, the sea just went really calm. The waves flattened off, and we towed the thing very, very easily. Very strange experience. The sea was my friend that day, knowing that we needed a little bit of luck.
We'll take you into the harbour. Yeah. Cool. Well, we'll take you in just right up to the edge.
Finally, the lifeboat brings the dinghy and the two sailors back to the safety of Lime Regis Harbour.
They seemed very relieved when we got back in, very thankful that we brought them in with their vessel, with their dinghy. Yeah, I'm very happy.
Pride does play its part, but it was an issue that was out of their control. I mean, these things happen, and we went out and helped resolve it.
Are you guys going to be here for a bit? I want to pop over and just take some details from you guys. Is that all right?
When we got back, we had a chat with these guys. We then discovered that they're two national, international and global sailing champions. These guys have spent hundreds of hours at sea. They know what they're doing. They know the capabilities of themselves, the boat. This was just an unfortunate day for them, and they were very fortunate that we were there to help them.
It just goes to show that you never know what's going to happen at any one moment, and at any given time.
The sea can catch anybody out. Doesn't matter who you are, what background you come from, the sea can still catch you out.
That was good, that.
Nice, nice.
Well done, boys. Brilliant.
The small town of Newlyn on the rugged south coast of Cornwall lies just 7 miles from Land's End, mainland England's most westerly point.
Newlyn's a very close-knit community. Certainly those that are working within the fishing industry. Everybody knows everybody.
Within easy reach of the Channel and the North Atlantic, this sheltered harbour has been at the centre of the local fishing industry for centuries.
Fishing in Newlyn is everything. It's the community. And they say, for every fisherman on a fishing boat, there's 7 jobs ashore from that one fisherman.
Fishing is classed as the UK's most dangerous profession, and there's been a lifeboat guarding these waters since 1803, with many of the crew drawn from the local fishing fleet.
South Coast Guard, Bentley Lifeboat.
The crew I've got here, they're a mixed bunch. You know, I've got a lot of experience on the crew. If it's nasty weather and you've got 4 or 5 fishermen on board the boat that are used to working in those conditions, it just makes the job so much easier for me because I don't have to tell them anything. I just get the boat in the right position and they'll deal with it.
Patrick, or Patch, is the current full-time coxswain of the Penlee lifeboat, operating out of Newlyn Harbour. He worked on fishing boats for years and knows firsthand that they're not just vessels, they're often a person's entire livelihood.
Right, Ken? Right, press buttons. Yep.
Patrick's my first cousin, so we've grown up together, went to school together. He's only a year above me. Certainly locally, everybody knows Patrick. Patch. I call him all sorts, to be honest, but we'll stick with Patch.
A warm, still day in July.
It was a flat, calm day. The guys were washing the boat down, having a bit of a laugh, and the pager went off.
10 miles offshore, a boat has put out a mayday, the highest level of distress call at sea.
First thing we heard was a fishing vessel on fire and that the crew were preparing to abandon ship. I'd say it is as urgent as it gets. I mean, you know, the vessel on fire, you aren't going to muck about.
A fire on any boat is an emergency, but fishing boats out at sea for long periods are often full of fuel.
Fire at sea on a fishing boat is probably the worst thing that can happen. Once a fire takes hold of a boat, basically you're on a bomb, really. I think that's just another level of fear, I think. When we turned the corner from Penlee Point, it was just we could see a massive plume of black smoke.
As the Severn class steams out to sea at its top speed of 25 knots, the Coast Guard radios through more information. The burning boat is the Ocean Harvest, owned by a local fisherman called Nigel.
Once the crew knew that it was Nigel, you know, and there was a major fire, the boat just goes quiet. You know, the banter stops.
It was almost as like, if we just be quiet and don't say nothing, we'll get there quicker. It's kind of strange.
It takes them almost 25 minutes to reach the scene. A number of other boats have also responded to the mayday, but are keeping a safe distance from the blaze.
You could feel the heat. We could probably feel the heat from 100 yards away.
It was roaring. It was a proper blazing fire. Yeah, I've never seen it like it.
Everything on the deck had gone. The wheelhouse had gone. The gantry was hanging off the back of the boat. It was just amazing how bad the fire was. You could smell it. It was a horrible horrible smell. Yeah, it was bad. It was a bad one.
The fishing boat is beyond saving, though the lifeboat's main concern is her crew.
We were told 2 people are in the life raft, but we didn't know, are they burnt? You know, have they got smoke inhalation problems? As we approached, we could see, I think it was Nigel had his head out of the life raft, and Ian was sat on the side. So it's good to see that they were, you know, sat upright and not laid out with injuries and things in the life raft. So it was a relief to see that they were both sat up. So you could tell sort of straight away that they were okay-ish.
By the time the all-weather boat arrives, Nigel and his crewmate Ian have been in their life raft for almost half an hour.
There's no better sight than that ship coming through the water. There's no better sight. It's like giving a thirsty man a drink of water. It's just a relief. It's, here she is. And you know that you're in the safest hands possible. Once that boat's there, you're in the safest hands possible.
A bit shaken up and a bit dazed, but still I was glad not to be in that life raft.
I never want to see another life raft as long as I live. They're not a pleasant place to be. Even on a lovely day like it was, they're not a pleasant place to be.
Nigel and Ian had set off at dawn for a day of fishing.
The day the boat caught fire was just a normal day. We went down 4 o'clock in the morning, aboard the boat, started her up and let her go and went away. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful weather. Flat calm, watched the sun come up, and we was towing back in towards the bay, and, you know, disaster struck.
Towing back towards home, because there wasn't a lot of fish. I was on watch, and smelt smoke and didn't seem it was right, so I shouted Nigel.
Aboard any sort of boat, you do not want to see smoke. Fire at sea is the worst, so I just cracked the engine room hatch, and I can feel the heat and see the flames shooting up at me. So slammed the hatch down, told Ian, we need to get off this thing right now. The life raft was above the wheelhouse, if you like, so I could see where the flames were tracking. It wouldn't have been long before we wouldn't have been able to get the life raft off the roof.
If Nigel didn't make that call to get off the boat when they did, I think it could have been a lot worse. We could have been looking for bodies rather than, you know, 2 guys sat up in a life raft.
Once Nigel and Ian are safely on board, all anyone can do is watch the fishing boat burn itself out and make sure it doesn't become a hazard to other vessels.
Goes against everything you know as a seafarer. To watch a vessel that you can't do nothing about and just know it's in its last moments, and yeah, it can be surreal.
Watching a boat burn is horrible. The boat has a bit of a personality. You've seen it around the harbour, you've seen it come in and land, and to see it on fire is just, it's sad. Someone's livelihood is just gone.
I've been out of this harbour numerous times, and I've always come back with my ship or my boat. It's a very strange feeling to get off a boat knowing that you'll never see it again. It's a very strange feeling to come back in the harbour without your boat.
They watch the fishing boat slip slowly beneath the waves, then return to Newlyn Harbour, where Nigel and Ian's families are waiting for them to return safely home.
That's when the shock really set in. It's like, wow. You know you've had a lucky escape, but it's only when you're still in that key it really sinks in. You think, wow, you know, I am really lucky to be here.
Bringing people back to their loved ones is what it's all about. You know, that's what we do the job.
Though accidents are a fact of life, when something unexpected happens at sea, the consequences can be disastrous.
So a minor problem on land when you're at sea is often life and death. You put the wrong fuel in your car and you pull over to one side and you wait for the tow truck. You have fuel contamination on a boat and within minutes you could be on the rocks fighting for your life.
The sea's a scary place when it wants to be. If you're not scared of the sea, there's something wrong with you.
Things with the seas, you've got to respect it. You can't try and beat it, you've just got to respect it. And the sea will do what the sea wants to do.
If it's going to get you, it's going to get you. Simple as that. You've got to give it the respect it's due.
In the northwest of England lies the beautiful but dangerous peninsula known as the Wirral.
The Wirral coast, it's a vast expanse of beach, of mudflats and of channels and gullies. The beaches around here are always changing, depending on the state of tide, depending on the weather. Over a series of tides, what one day might have been a very safe part of the beach to cross can be very treacherous. And that's one reason why even very experienced people who know the beach well, find themselves in difficult situations.
Tidal cut-offs account for over 250 launches every year on average. And the perilous seas here prompted the foundation of one of the country's earliest lifeboat stations at Hoylake.
It was founded in 1803, actually before the RNLI was founded itself in 1824. So it's been around for a long time.
Originally created by the Liverpool Docks trustees, Hoylake was taken over by the RNLI in 1894 and now operates out of a £2 million state-of-the-art building.
The lifeboat station now is a very impressive building. The crew changing room is heated, which makes a big difference to the old cupboard that we used to keep our wet kit in. It's obviously designed to house our Shannon-class lifeboat.
With a range of 250 nautical miles, the Shannon-class all-weather boat can respond to distress calls deep into the wilds of the Irish Sea. But for calls closer to home, along the miles of sand and mud banks, the Hoylake crew rely on an altogether different vehicle.
The hovercraft is a fantastic bit of kit for any job, really, because we can fly onto the water or onto the sand.
The hovercraft's an air cushion vessel, so quite literally sits on a cushion of air. And in flight, as it's called, it barely has any contact with the ground other than the sails gliding across. It's a unique piece of equipment.
Harry, the station's full-time mechanic, is the latest team member being trained as a hovercraft commander.
A hovercraft commander is not like a helm in that the pilot flies. A hovercraft commander is responsible for the operation from start to finish, from launching the hovercraft, safely conducting an exercise or service, and bringing the hovercraft back to the boathouse.
A clear evening in spring, Harry has reached the final stage of his training.
We were launching on a training exercise. Our commander, Harry, was actually being passed out by an assessor, being able to command the hovercraft in emergency situations. So it was a very important exercise for him.
Nick was pilot. I was primarily commander, so I was doing it while being assessed by the RNLI.
The assessor will be putting Harry through a variety of emergency scenarios to see how well he responds. But they've barely begun the first simulation when real life interrupts.
Within a couple of minutes of calling the Coast Guard, we were tasked. The assessor trainer said we could be going to Barbers Folly because there's something going on.
Now in command of a real shout, Harry orders the crew to race to location at the hovercraft's top speed of 30 knots.
I was a little bit nervous, you know, because obviously I've got a trainer assessor there. He was looking at how I was organising the crew on the hovercraft, decisions on where we were going to go, what we were going to do.
It takes them minutes to reach Barbers Folly, where several other emergency agencies are already on scene, attending to a rather unusual casualty.
We heard over the radio that there was a Harbour Porpoise that had been stranded on the beach, and that Coast Guard teams and a team from the British Divers Marine Life Rescue were responding to it. A harbour porpoise is one of the smallest marine mammals that's found in UK waters, and they're relatively common in this region. It swam in along a channel leading to the local boat moorings, but had just found itself in too shallow water, and then as the tide went out, it found itself with no escape to the sea.
As we arrived at Barber's Folly, where the porpoise was, there was about 4 or 5 on the beach. We decided to stand off a little bit, obviously, because of the noise of the hovercraft, the fans going. That kind of thing may stress the porpoise out even more.
With the tide almost fully out, the quickest way to return the porpoise to the sea, now over a mile away, is by hovercraft.
Obviously, the longer that a marine mammal is out the water for, the more dangerous it becomes for it, and the worse it'll be for itself.
It was time critical because I think, obviously, it was more the skin drying out on the animal, you know, so they need to get it back into the water.
The marine rescue team, wearing face masks to protect themselves and the porpoise from infectious diseases, have been keeping the animal cool and wet, and now carry it over to the hovercraft for Harry to oversee its journey back to the distant sea.
It's hard to say what was going through my mind at the time. One really being, I've never seen a porpoise before. Well, I've seen them, but no, never been up that close before.
It was obviously a very novel situation for us to be in as lifeboat crew. We're not used too much to dealing with animals, and certainly not marine mammals.
Yeah, we can walk in and then rocket. If you can get us close to the water as possible, that'd be great.
Take a straight out. So what we'll do is we're going to fly up. If we come across, drop into the gully here. You can sit down with it, and Dan will stand this side of you, just go for me to bounce out.
Yeah, brilliant.
Once Harry is satisfied the hovercraft is properly balanced with 2 extra marine rescue personnel and a porpoise on board, he gives the order to go.
You get us in the way, mate. You're happy
Yeah, it's a little bit trickier when you're dealing with something that's going to be fairly terrified, I suppose, of what you're doing. The general rule of thumb is nice and slow.
It was an interesting experience. It was a new experience, and certainly one that I'm sure Harry won't forget either. Certainly an interesting way for an assessment to turn into an emergency.
After a slow and steady 8-minute flight, the crew land the hovercraft close to the shoreline where the marine rescue team take over.
You got it, mate. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, lift.
You got it? That porpoise, you know, it would have ended up, unfortunately, dying on the beach if we didn't get it back to the water, you know.
I think once we saw that tarpaulin fly free, that it had been carried in, we all took a sigh of relief and thought to ourselves, well, that was an interesting job, but it was a job well done.
You get away okay?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
With the porpoise safely away, the crew resume their training exercise.
It ended up being... Assessment turned into a shout, me getting assessed while in command of the hovercraft, really, you know, liaising with the Coast Guard units that were on the beach. Once we got back in the station and all the equipment was washed down, the assessor said I was passed out.
How did that feel?
Fantastic. A big weight off my shoulders. I think it's preserving life, I suppose. It's a nice feeling at the end of the day.
A 130 miles southwest of Hoylake, on the western edge of Wales, is the unique but tiny city of St David's.
St David's is lots of things. The sense of community here is amazing. It's countryside, it's ancient, it's history.
With a population of just over 1,500, St David's is Britain's smallest city and also one of its oldest, with city status being assigned in the 16th century.
I lived here all my life. I was born in that house there. My first view, I should imagine, when they held me up to the window, would be in St David's Cathedral.
Local boy Mike, a musician by trade, is a well-known figure around St David's for more reasons than one.
I had my face tattooed when I was about 32, something like that, 33. It's my first tattoo. I thought, if you can have a tattoo, there's no point in having one on your bum, is there? Because nobody's going to see it. And I thought, well, I'm never going to be a policeman. I'm never going to be the mayor. So I'll have a tattoo on my face. And guess what happened? Yeah.
After a stint on the local council, Mike was made mayor of the city around 18 months ago.
Morning. Good morning. How are you?
Looking very smart.
I know. Best different tucker. You all right?
Yeah, you?
I'm fine, thanks.
A familiar figure around town, Mike's talents as a singer and songwriter means he's also known locally as the musical mayor.
All right, all right. It's the red coat, what can I say? I think I know most people in St David's, and I think obviously when you wear this, most people know who I am.
As well as his red mayoral uniform, Mike also wears a yellow one.
Lifeboats have always been in my family from when I was a little boy. My dad was on the lifeboat. My grandmother was involved with fundraising. My mum was involved with fundraising. It was a community family thing. It just seemed a natural progression. I love boats. I love going out on the water. The coastline here is probably one of the worst stretches of coastlines around Wales. It's beautiful, it's wild, it's rugged and unforgiving.
The only crew member who's been on the St David's lifeboat longer than Mike is Di, the station's full-time coxswain.
So the reef we've got here is the Bitches Reef. It's quite a notorious part of Ramsay Sound. In 1910, our last rowing and sailing lifeboat was wrecked on the reef here. 3 of the crew lost their lives. Conditions change here really quick. Just in the space of a couple of minutes, we've gone from it being quite calm to a bit of a drop in the water here. But it gets a lot worse than this.
A sunny but fresh day in September.
I seem to remember it was a nice day. My granddaughter was born about lunchtime or just after lunch. I just got the news through that everything went well, so I was over the moon with that, and next thing my pager goes off.
The crew rushed to the lifeboat station 2 miles west of the city.
When I got there, I phoned the Coast Guards. They told me that there was a couple of kayakers who were on rocks at the south end of Ramsay Island. We gathered that they'd been in the water, but didn't know any more than that.
Within minutes, the station's Tamar-class all-weather lifeboat is launched and heading on its way to the notorious Ramsay Sound.
As we were launching, I was thinking then about what kind of rocks were they on, how accessible were those rocks going to be for us. Might they even have been on rocks which were so small they could have been washed off by the tide.
The tide is currently flowing out, rushing south through the Sound at speeds of up to 7 knots, washing away anything in its path.
Given that they were on the rocks, the chances are they would probably in the water first, and certainly would be wet, and that would be enough to start getting really cold.
At their top speed of 25 knots, it takes the crew just 5 minutes to arrive at the 2 kayakers' last known location, a small rocky outcrop known locally as Innis Island.
It's just a lump of rock. There's no nice, safe ledges. There's nowhere to stand.
So go on 031.
It quickly became clear that we were going to have to use the Y-boat.
With hidden rocks surrounding the island, the Tamar keeps to the deeper channels. After launching the smaller Y-boat from under the rear deck, Mike heads off with fellow crew member Tom to look for the casualties.
There are quite a few submerged rocks all around Ramsay. Generally speaking, the rocks are gnarly and rough. If you're unfortunate enough to come across a really sharp piece, they go through, and then suddenly it's a totally different ball game.
As we got closer, we could just see 2 people, and it wasn't clear that they were actually out of the water. And then when we got closer, you could see that they actually were on a ledge, but they were sort of clinging on the ledge.
Is everybody okay? Okay, we're going to just stand fire, wait for the swells to die down.
The tide is swirling around the island at around 7 miles an hour, creating unpredictable currents and a problem for Mike at the helm.
As the tide hit the island, it was going in two directions. You move over one side, you'd be swept one way, or you'd be swept the other way. So trying to work out exactly where I was going to come in. And then once you get the nose into the rocks, you can still get swept sideways.
Mike waits for a gap in the swell. Then heads in. The first casualty scrambles across the rocks, but just as she draws closer,
Stand by, stand by.
the current sweeps the stern out, spinning the boat away from the rocks.
Okay, looking good.
Mike battles in against the current once again, knowing now how little time they will have to transfer the casualty.
Okay, we'll be ready to grab her then. We've got a bit of a back eddy coming on here. On.
Sorry.
Are you okay there? No injuries or anything?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, good, good. What's your friend's name?
That's my dad, he's called Chris.
Chris. What we'll try and do when we come back is we'll take a kayak and the paddle, and then we'll come back for you if you're happy. Okay. And your name is?
Molly.
Molly. I'm Mike.
Hi.
This is Tom.
I'm always relieved when the casualties are on board, and certainly seeing that they were fit and well, if a little shaken and a little cold, we can recover from that.
We do a lot of water sports, but when we got across there, and then on the way back, I was like, I was too tired.
There's a naughty bit of tide going on there as well, yeah.
And then we were sat there for a while, and I was like, Dad, we're gonna have to pull the RNLI. And he was like, well, they might not
Do you know what?
kayak.
No, do you know what? I'm glad you did. It's the best call you could make.
Molly and her dad, Chris, had travelled to St David's from Birmingham for a kayaking weekend as a treat for her 18th birthday.
It can go so horribly wrong so quickly out here, so you did the right thing. Okay, this is Molly. This is Sting. And
I saw the current first. You could hear it roaring, and as we was getting closer and closer, it was getting louder and louder.
There we are, getting the one. I've got my jacket's just around the corner.
He looked at me and he was like, I'm going to get tipped in a minute, let go. As soon as I let go of him, the back end of his kayak fell into the swell and it capsized him. I screamed his name and then shouted back, are you okay? I saw him for about 2 seconds before I got capsized myself. And then as I popped up on the other side, I was shouting Dad, and he was like, it's okay, just stay calm. But I was getting dragged back out as well as getting dragged under.
Just pile in. Okay.
You've got no injuries? No, I'm fine. I couldn't see Molly. All I could see was the bottom of her kayak. And just as I was about to jump in to try and obviously find her, she popped up on the other side of her kayak, and obviously her hands were over the top. So she was gasping for air. I don't know how long she'd been under the water, but it was, it was enough to worry her, and it definitely scared me. I was trying to pull her back up onto the rocks. The swell was going down, so it was pretty much pulling me back into the water. But obviously it was just a case that I wasn't going to let go of her.
When my dad got me up on the rocks, processing what had just happened really shocked me. I could have just died.
This is Chris. Hi, Chris.
I know Dad doesn't like to bother people if he doesn't need to, but I kind of gave him a stern look and was like, you need to call someone, and you need to call someone now. As soon as I saw this big boat getting closer and closer to us. I looked at Dad and I was like, they're here, they are here, we're gonna be fine.
That's it, we let the door do the rest.
That tide will catch you out, and it caught them out. They were just lucky there was a rock nearby that they could go to.
You're welcome.
I was in a situation where I didn't know what was going to happen next. And yeah, they did their job, and above and beyond. The crew of St David's basically saved their lives.
The seaside community of Kinghorn lies on the north side of the Firth of Forth in Scotland.
Kinghorn is a bit of an idyllic place to live and to bring your children up. We have 2 beaches, we have a loch, we have a fairly decent high street. Rumour has it that Kinghorn was the seat of the crown hundreds of years ago. So in the 1200s, King Alexander had a castle here, for example, and it's on his way back to Kinghorn that legend has it, he fell off his horse and fell down a cliff and died.
That's what we're famous for a king falling off his horse.
One of the best things about Kinghorn, of course, is we have not only the lifeboat station, but we have a volunteer Coast Guard station here as well. So Kinghorn is a town that can populate 2 volunteer rescue stations from a population of about 3,000.
The Kinghorn Lifeboat Station has been here since 1965, watching over an estuary littered with rocky islands and outcrops created in a time older even than Scottish kings.
This used to be a volcanic area. There's evidence of some of these volcanoes still around with some of the islands that lie off in the estuary as well. And of course they've caused striations of rocks to form all over the place, the lava output and so on. There are rocks to the east and the west. If you don't know where they are, they can catch you out.
Rocks in the water and the tide can come in quite quick around you if you don't keep your eyes on it.
Mid-June, a still, calm Sunday evening.
Sometimes you do get a bit of a foreboding. You feel that there's something, you can almost hear the pager beeping in your head before it does sometimes. This doesn't feel right. And then pager goes off.
The Coast Guard has received a 999 call. A boy is stranded on rocks on the south side of the Firth of Forth, and the tide is flooding in fast.
No, I never done a bite.
Initially they said it's a boy stuck on rocks at Port Seaton. Now to begin with, we were a bit unsure exactly which rocks. There's a lot of rocks around there.
Port Seaton is 10 miles southeast of Kinghorn across the estuary. Within minutes, the station's Atlantic-class inshore lifeboat has been launched and is on its way.
Or if he's right beside the seawall, maybe not too much of a problem. Or is he way out at the edge of the rocks? Has he got a half-mile swim to get back in?
As they speed to location, they learn from the Coast Guard that the casualty is only 16 years old.
When I heard that it was a 16-year-old boy, straight away I thought, is he going to be responsible enough to stay on the rock at 16 and just wait for us to get there?
Teenagers can just do things you don't expect. They can be a little bit gung-ho, I would say. Was he going to try and swim ashore? Was he going to panic?
Another concern is the time. It's now 9:40 in the evening and sunset is at 10.
The shout was time critical because the light was fading and the tide's coming in around them fast, so the time was limited and getting less.
It's rising quickly. It will rise a metre in about an hour, perhaps even 2 metres if it's a spring tide in about an hour.
The rocks would have been underwater within the next half an hour. We had to get there as quick as we can.
Though it's still the height of summer, the average sea temperature in the Firth of Forth is just 12 degrees Celsius, so they need to reach the casualty before the rising tide. "15 minutes after launching, the crew spot the boy and the dwindling ridge of rocks he's stranded on. But it's the rocks they can't see that are causing most concern. They drop their speed to try and avoid them and risk damaging the boat.
Have we got a proper chart to look at? I can't remember which is the safest approach in here without hitting rocks.
You've got a buoy there, you're not, and you've got a buoy there. Do you want me to keep an eye at the front?
We knew that there were some rocks in that area. We had people spotting rocks. We were looking at the depth gauge to see what the depth was around us.
All that bit is a dry now.
Right.
I could guide you around there and back in there.
Right. There's always going to be that one sharp rock sticking up from the seabed, waiting to catch the bottom of your boat.
Still all clear.
As they make their final approach, the water gets shallower and the risk to the lifeboat increases.
About 10 metres from rocks that I can see. Right, stop, stop, stop! There's a bit of an outcrag there, so I can jump onto there. If you can get ashore, speak to them.
As the helm, Scott can't risk taking the lifeboat any closer. He instructs crew member Stephen to wade over to the casualty and assess him.
You okay? What's that? No, no. So you okay other than that?
We have a boy wearing a shirt and tie and very nice trousers, standing on a rock off Port Seaton with the tide coming in. It was the strangest thing.
Shaken but otherwise unharmed, they urgently need to get the casualty off the rocks before the rising tide swamps them.
This is King on Lifeboat Alpha, over. If you can get round here, you can pretty much get to where I am standing. I don't know obviously what's out further out, but this is a better spot.
Now you just got to watch for rocks at the front, right? We'll take it easy.
As the lifeboat repositions to attempt a different approach, Stephen stays with the casualty and prepares him for evacuation.
90s life jacket on top of you. There we go. Okay. Oh yeah, just out just for a walk?
Aye, just for a walk, with my pals crab hunting. And one of my pals had to go back over there. And I was just ready to turn around, I was like, here we go.
This is where rocks will be, alright? Keep a good eye.
Aye.
With one crew member on the bow scanning for submerged rocks, and the helm keeping an eye on the depth gauge, the lifeboat makes its approach.
1 metre, that always makes me nervous.
6, 5,
0.4.
2.
Aye. Literally 0.1 metres. Depth sounder says nothing.
Oh, this rock's in.
The Atlantic grazes a rock. To avoid any further damage, Scott commands 2 crew members to jump out and haul the 1.8-ton lifeboat the remaining 20 feet to the rocks.
Raft it in and raft it back out. You want to hop out as well, see if you can just, same as Robert's doing, just grab the port side and just try and walk it in just now. So that way it keeps my engines a bit safe.
We're all ready for the sea.
You okay there, Robert, yeah?
Well, stop there if you can.
Stop! Halt!
There we go.
Come on. Okay, in you come. You're drier than Robert. Right, go and grab yourself a wee seat there on the bench seat, just get yourself comfy.
He came on the boat, told him where to sit, and he went down and he sat there.
I tell you what, you've done well. You've not even got wet.
At least it doesn't a flat calm day, I mean, this was big waves.
Yeah, this was big waves, you would have been awash.
Does your mum know you're alright?
0.8 at the moment, Robert. 0.9.
The casualty, William, had been attending a wedding nearby.
There was a break in between the wedding, so we all went out. I went for a walk, caught about 3 crabs when the water started coming in, and I tried to find my way out, but I couldn't.
Oh, you never even got your feet wet.
Thought about swimming back, but because how heavy my suit was and the stuff I had on and that, I was too worried to me going into the water and started drowning. My phone was sitting on 10% at the time. I was on the phone to the Coast Guards, and that's when I eventually got myself help.
Right, when we get in, we just stay seated, right, just until we're 100% set up, and then we'll give you a nod when to move, okay?
The water was coming up quite quick, it was hitting the rocks quick enough. It was getting my feet wet and my legs. Cold wasn't the word, it was like ice hitting me. I thought I was going to drown that day.
Just tie it up onto the cleat, and then we'll just put it on round the ladder. It's just to hold us whilst we get him off.
If we hadn't been called, even standing on those rocks, he would have been neck deep in a couple of hours. And he would have faced a choice of trying to swim ashore in quite deep water, very, very cold deep water, or if he'd tried to clamber over the rocks before the tide came up too high, he may have slipped, he could have banged his head, if he'd got a head injury. To me, that's a life saved.
Is that all good?
I always wanted to be a paramedic when I was older, but now, because I've seen what happens when you get stuck, I decided to change my living to try and volunteer for the RNLI.
All right, mate. See you later. Cheers.
William isn't the only one who's been changed by his ordeal at sea. Father and daughter Chris and Molly, having learned from their past mistakes, still feel they have unfinished business in the seas off the Welsh coast.
We haven't finished off the coastline of Wales yet, so we've still got to go from Porpoise onwards. We're not going around Ramsay Island again, though. If we are to, we'll go on one of these tourist boats. And as I've been down there again since to say thank you for St David's, the water's constantly like that from what I can gather. And there's no change in it.
I haven't been back in the water since, due to like the weather conditions, and also, you know, it's colder weather now. I don't really want to go out in the water, but when it gets back to the warmer weather, I am definitely going back in.
And in Newlyn, Nigel is ready to replace the ocean harvest that burnt and sank with a smaller cove boat for mackerel fishing.
It's taken a while to get my head straight. It's an upward struggle. Like, we don't, you know, it's not only you've got to think where your next meal's coming from, basically, how you're going to survive, how you're going to make a living. It's taken a while, but we're getting there now. We are sort of moving forward now. I've just had a baby girl, 2 weeks old today, and I would love to think that from the summer and the winter, because it's an all-round-year fishery, I could make a living in a small boat like this and be home every night to see my daughter. That's what I want to happen now. I've had enough of going away for days on end and sort of 20-hour days as we do in the summer. I want a home life, a bit more of a home life. And I'm a bit old to sort of retrain as a brain surgeon, so I think fishing is me. I think that's the way forward.